I feel like we're on the fast track to dystopia, and it's going to take a miracle to get us out of it. And that miracle is, of course, collective will.
I am optimistic that we're going to figure it out, but I think it's going to take a long time because not everybody recognizes that this is a problem.
I think one of the big failures in technology today is a real failure of leadership, of like people coming out and having these open conversations about things that, not just what went well, but what isn't perfect, so that someone can come in and build something new.
At the end of the day, this machine isn't going to turn around until there's massive public pressure by having these conversations and voicing your opinion.
Let's talk about it. All right. So, to that drawn out introduction, we have just finished watching The Social Dilemma. So naturally, of course, the way it's predicted for this guy. I just got off of my 3 days at work. I worked Saturday, 12 hours, Sunday, 12 hours, Monday, 12 hours, and found myself today not waking up till about 10. Found myself eating a breakfast, brunch, lunch. So that means pancakes with peanut butter and jelly and eggs, over seasoned, of course, and slightly scrambled over easy at about 12:30 or so. And then we spent a couple hours just kind of starting laundry, getting things organized, getting Kiwi out. And then I find myself on YouTube where Casey Neistat, he provides an insightful response to something that was being dropped on Netflix. Now, I've been really good actually about not going on Netflix for a good long while. I'm going to turn the volume up. So, I haven't been on Netflix very regularly for a good while. Yet, when Casey Neistat drops something of his own interest and his own, when he stated it as though it's one of his greatest fears, I naturally had to jump over. So I do pay for it, so I may as well utilize it, but I don't like a lot of the generic content, and I found that it's too easy to get sucked into digital social media platforms and binge watch so much. So I've been really good, and that's also one of the reasons why I wanted to vlog and spend more time on my days off, not binge watching on Netflix. Nonetheless, The Social Dilemma comes out apparently, and I did just finish watching that. Now, first and foremost, I'm going to give a lot of props to the people that came on here and said their piece. It does make me think, though, too, that there's a possibility with the timing of this type of a release that these types of interviews have taken place quite a while ago, and it's more a matter of timing so that essentially we're ready now. The people of the world are now ready to hear in more context what this whole thing's been about. Now, in my first podcast, I did briefly talk about YouTube, and as I'm starting a new channel, and as I'm on episode 2, woo, we got plus 17 subscribers now, though. 17, we're almost adults, so we're getting ready to cross that threshold. Go ahead and push the subscribe button and comment or like. This isn't what this is going to be about, though. This is exactly what has been needing to happen, and the conversation's been needing to happen for a long time. I venture to guess and generalize that the majority of people in the world know that this whole thing has been very secretive and manipulative and deceptive, and as though we've seen all these statistics categorically rise exponentially, where is it all coming from? And this is what gets revealed in this amazing documentary, and I really appreciate it. The acting was phenomenal. The way it was put together, the way it was pieced. I especially liked the adding of a character from Mad Men coming in there and playing a role of AI, and the ending. You need to go watch it. It just dives more in depth into exactly what it is and how it is and why it is what it is. I'm winging it. I'm off. This is my headspace, and this is how it's going to roll out. I'm not going to script anything as to the best of my ability, and the best of my knowledge at this point. I don't think there's a point in that. I think it's about responding to different things in authenticity. So I have a background and experience in having another YouTube channel, which was very much pursuing a convenient curiosity in regards to how and why advertisements are used and placed. So what I had done was take little snippets of content from YouTube via the same software that I'm using right now to record this, in fact. But I could record my screen, take that audio clippets or that video clippets, throw it in a video editing engine, lay it over some music, and embed little advertisements within the content. Now, I was able to do a whole series over about 5.5 to 6 months. And what I saw come as a result of that, because I completely threw myself into what we might call artificial intelligence. I was following the rabbit trail of like whatever it is that they're going to suggest to me, take that, throw it in, and see what happens. And that's how and why I came to the realization of what and how I could figure out certain truths in the world before they actually happen. Why I think, in a way, that programming became very succinctly apparent, and my awareness of it became very apparent and rose. And it's still there. I still see it all the time. But now that I'm not as engaged, it's hard to know where the backdrops are. It's just interesting to sit here and listen and watch things like this drop. And I find like the timing couldn't be more obvious. The thing is that when it comes to our screen time, I'm guilty of it. I'm sure you're guilty of it. We're being pulled into a rabbit hole of a thought process. And the ultimate agenda has been and will likely continue to, until we're the people that stand up against that, because that's our right, that's our duty, is to avoid the monetary economic gains to supersede personal choice. Now, there's a lot of really cool things that were dropped into this film. One of the most apparent and obvious ones to me was that realization that if you're not paying for it, then you're the product. It has to do with us. If you are taking advantage of a service and not paying for it, you are the product. My point here is that I think we are finally getting to this point as a species where if finally all of these higher ups, the powers that be, that now aren't necessarily so much the CEOs of these big companies, but rather the creators and the idealists, wherever they are and whatever they do behind the scenes of all these social media platforms. It's nice to see their honesty. We need the candor. We need the truth and the honesty to actually start revealing. I don't know what else to say on this topic. However, meditate on what it is that you find yourself interested in. I talked about this, where if you are not willing to go through your YouTube subscriptions and literally delete the things that do not bring you value, it is going to destroy who you could potentially be. If we're not allowed to be the people that actually make the decision of the things that we're interested in, and rather we allow this algorithm to just determine and predetermine what type of content is best for us, that is a very scary truth. And yes, it is very true, in my own opinion, that humanity can and will be lost if we're pulled into the systemic breakdown. I just watched a tech review with none other than the Facebook Mark Zuckerberg about his tech and going and diving into AR. What is AR? You look it up and you tell me what you think. VR versus AR. Is this something that the world needs? Because I only see one reality that hasn't actually even happened yet. and God forbid it actually does, that if that were to be the case, then AR might be necessary at that point. But let's hope that kind of shit does not happen. We have to stand up. We have to be a part of the solution and not the problem. You know, there's another line in the show that it talks about, calling somebody a user. That's in concepts of illegal drugs and software. I'm a software user. And I'm a drug addict, a user. those should not be so much similar, but they are. Hi, Kiwi. Say hi to Kiwi in the comments if you will. She'll appreciate the love. But essentially, it really comes down to us not buying into the programming. I don't know how we do it. And I think that there was one overarching thing that really got revealed, and not necessarily revealed to me, but just it confirms a lot of the things that have been going on in my mind for quite a few years now, since my awakening. And that is simply that the economic system itself, the money, the monetary drive, and the incentives therein, without limitation and without alternatives, when we're all tied to that singularity, that system, and it's contextually all intertwined one way or another. It doesn't really matter about the way that it's built. It's that they can't continue to be incentivized by way of the same thing that pays the average person. This disparity between the rich and the famous and the people making the big paychecks and the contracts that it involves and the commitments and that those things entail versus the person like myself who works for $16 an hour, bullshit like demands physically, but at the same time, like, I survive and I'm able to save. I'm 35, I'm single, I've never been married, I've never had kids, and this is a result of the fact that I am just as guilty of wasting a majority of my life on screens and pursuing a lot of the knowledge. Like, I remember a whole year that I dedicated in my life to reading books. I remember a separate whole year of my life dedicated to kiwi walks and YouTube creation and starting my own garden. I remember a whole other year of my life back in the past where I did nothing but knock doors for a living pretty much every waking moment that I could because I was driven to succeed. I remember other years of my life where I avoided alcohol and cigarettes, and the realities and the experiences of each one of those intertwine kind of make up who I end up becoming as a 35-year-old adult. But the crux of it is that now as I've matured into 35, almost 36 years old, single, and those types of things are, that when I look at the world and I go out and try to find these social outlets so that I can actually meet somebody, they don't exist. They're called Plenty of Fish, Tinder, Snapchat, and a bunch of pornography. And everything is so embedded with people also tied to that monetary system who are just also manipulating us. And that is the system that needs to be broken. I've turned off Facebook. I very rarely go on there. I do really like Instagram for the pictures, but I don't spend a whole majority of my time on there. I don't maintain a whole bunch of communications and conversations on there unless they're kind of essential and a part of a little niche of my humanity, like a fantasy football league, for example, for a couple years. I'm not even doing that this year. Some family groups, so that when conversations come up around when reunions happen, that everybody can be in those. But otherwise, the amount of calls that come in that are legitimate to me, they don't exist anymore. I'm paying for a phone service that essentially is 100% people that I don't know. And if I do answer, they hang up. There's not even a robot that's willing to talk to me anymore. If I were to actually show you my recent calls, the last one that actually has a name to it came in on September 3rd. It is September 22nd. In nearly half of this whole month, I have all fake calls. All fake calls. 3 or 4 or 5 a day. And that's insane. And I'm paying for it. That's the system that has to be broken. That's the bullshit. You know, society has broken down and they've allowed this to happen, and unless these types of truths are not to be revealed, then this is going to continue to get worse and worse. And so I give a lot of props to those individuals that came out there and said the words that they did within the context of this show. Thank you for Netflix. Thank you. You know, there's a lot of really cool platforms out here, I think, right now that are trying to be a part of the solution as best as they can. You know, because the worst thing that we can really continue to see is watching the media provocatively throw in front of us constantly the breakdown of society. If there was even a single network out there on television that 100% could dedicate to positive vibes and positive energy and not literally not allow a single negative or derogatory or clickbaity piece of content, that would be an amazing transformational thing. And for what it's worth, I think also one of the best things that could be invented on the technology side is we can talk about it all we want, but you guys of Facebook, of Instagram, of Google, of YouTube, and all of you guys combined, Twitter, Snapchat, the whole list, Pinterest, we need to be able to not have these notifications pulling us. You know, I want to be able to drink my coffee in the morning and make breakfast without a million notifications interrupting that mental, beautiful time of the day. And it is really unfortunate that I have to even talk about this the way that I am right now. These are just a simple, like a little bit of my thoughts as I've watched The Social Dilemma. And I would love to play some of these end credits for you. I hope that it doesn't get banned or taken down. But these are just some of the people majority of the people that were interviewed in their audio of what they essentially want to say to us. Now, we've heard the snippets, Sean Parker and what's his name, from the Facebook social growth programs over the internet for many, many years now. But, you know, we need more of this type of truth to actually come to light and be made available. And we do need YouTube to cut back and shut down and find alternatives, as well as, of course, Facebook and Instagram. I'm just saying it for YouTube because this is on YouTube. I will be posting this to YouTube. So please, I hope that you find this well. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And good luck trying to cut off your social media addiction, as I will. But I will still remain vigilant. Peace.
I feel like we're on the fast track to dystopia, and it's going to take a miracle to get us out of it. And that miracle is, of course, collective will.
I am optimistic that we're going to figure it out, but I think it's going to take a long time because not everybody recognizes that this is a problem.
I think one of the big failures in technology today is a real failure of leadership, of like people coming out and having these open conversations about things that, not just what went well, but what isn't perfect. so that someone can come in and build something new.
At the end of the day, this machine isn't going to turn around until there's massive public pressure.
By having these conversations and voicing your opinion, in some cases through these very technologies, we can start to change the tide. We can start to change the conversation.
It might sound strange, but it's my world. It's my community. I don't hate them. I don't want to do any harm to Google or Facebook. I just want to reform them so they don't destroy the world,
I've uninstalled a ton of apps from my phone that I felt were just wasting my time. All the social media apps, all the news apps, and I've turned off notifications on anything that was vibrating my leg with information that wasn't timely and important to me right now. And it's for the same reason that I don't keep cookies in my pocket.
Reduce the number of notifications that you're getting.
Turn off notifications, turning off all notifications.
So I'm not using Google anymore, I'm using Quant, which doesn't store your search history.
Never accept the video recommended to you on YouTube. Always choose. That's another way to fight.
There are tens of Chrome extensions that remove recommendation.
I love that you're recommending something to undo what you made.
Yep.